The knock came at exactly 12:07 a.m. 3 sharp raps that cut through the silence like a verdict. Daniel froze in the narrow hallway of his small apartment, his phone still glowing in his hand with an unread work email titled, "Urgent. Need this tonight." His 8-year-old son, Noah, slept behind the thin bedroom door, clutching a schoolbook he'd fallen asleep reading. Daniel hadn't slept properly in weeks. His eyes burned, his hands trembled, and his heart pounded as he approached the door, already exhausted by whoever stood on the other side. When he opened it, the world seemed to tilt. Standing there, rain-soaked, pale, and completely out of place in the dim corridor, was Olivia Cross, the billionaire CEO who had wrung every ounce of strength from him for weeks without ever once asking how he was holding up. The woman whose name alone could silence a boardroom was now on his doorstep at midnight, her voice barely above a whisper as she said, "Daniel, I didn't know where else to go." And in that moment, he realized this night was about to change everything he thought he knew. About her, about himself, and about the price of survival that IT had started weeks earlier, when Daniel accepted a contract role at Cross Dynamics, knowing it would mean long hours but believing it would finally give his son some stability. As a single dad, he measured life in grocery bills and school fees, not dreams. Olivia Cross ran the company like a machine, precise, ruthless, and relentless. Deadlines shifted without warning. Late-night revisions became routine. Daniel worked until dawn, slept in his car between meetings, and still showed up with coffee-stained reports and quiet obedience. Olivia barely looked at him during meetings, her sharp eyes fixed on screens and profit margins. To her, he was brilliant, his job was efficient, replaceable. Each night he came home to Noah, forcing a smile, hiding the cracks in his voice as he helped with homework while emails buzzed endlessly in his pocket. He missed school events. He forgot to eat. And still, the work kept coming. There were moments, standing alone in the office at 3 a.m., staring at city lights, when Daniel wondered if anyone would notice if he simply collapsed. The breaking point came when Noah spiked a fever one night, and Daniel begged for just one extension. Olivia's reply was cold, clipped, professional. "I need commitment. If this is too much, I'll find someone else." Daniel stared at the message, shame and fury twisting in his chest. But he stayed. He always stayed, because quitting wasn't an option when a child depended on you. Days later, Olivia disappeared from the office without explanation. The pressure didn't ease. If anything, it worsened. Daniel pushed through on empty, unaware that something inside Olivia's perfectly controlled world had begun to fracture. Her empire was cracking under legal threats, betrayal from within, and a loneliness so deep it terrified her. Surrounded by power, she had no one she trusted. And somehow, the only person who had consistently held the company together during the chaos was the man she had overworked and overlooked. That's how she ended up at his door at midnight. Soaked by rain, stripped of status, carrying nothing but fear. Inside the apartment, Olivia sat stiffly on a worn couch while Daniel handed her a towel, his exhaustion mixing with disbelief. She noticed everything: the peeling paint, the small shoes by the door, the stack of unpaid bills. For the first time, she truly saw the life behind the emails. Her voice broke as she admitted the truth. She was losing control, drowning in expectations, trapped by the very power she'd built. "You keep going no matter what," she said quietly. "I don't know how you do it." Daniel looked at her then, not as a billionaire, not as a boss, but as a human being finally unraveling. "Because if I don't," he replied, "my son pays the price." Silence filled the room, heavy and honest. From that night on, things changed, but not instantly. Olivia returned to work humbled, questioning systems she'd never challenged before. Daniel set boundaries for the first time, his voice shaking but firm. When she listened, really listened, something shifted between them. She restructured teams, redistributed workloads, and publicly acknowledged the cost of burnout. Daniel was promoted not as a reward, but as recognition. More importantly, he was respected. Weeks later, Olivia attended Noah's school event, standing awkwardly in the back, clapping harder than anyone when Daniel's son smiled on stage. The billionaire who once measured success only in numbers now measured it in people she didn't break along the way. The story doesn't end with romance or fairy tale promises. It ends with something stronger, understanding. Daniel learned that strength doesn't mean silent suffering. Olivia learned that leadership without humanity is just another form of failure. And that midnight knock became a reminder that even the most powerful can fall apart, and even the most exhausted can rise, when they finally see each other not as titles, but as lives. The world didn't change overnight, but two lives did. And sometimes that's more than enough.